That's so comfortable. Nice.
Oh, there they are. Welcome to Queen City. This is our different kind of meeting. We're in a side room for those of you on Zoom who don't recognize where we're at. The church is using the main space, so we are just improvising, and we're going to do a little meeting here in our executive board room, which is also a classroom. Is Lisa and Sonia, are you able to hear me on there? Thumbs up? Or?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Perfect, thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our president, Elvis Lopez, to get us started. And
thank you, David, and good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. Welcome to our club for another exciting meeting. It's going to be a little different in a certain way. The format is always the same, but we're trying to bring something different. Tonight, we have lots of information for you, and we're going to be spreading it out throughout our meeting. Some content is going to come through our Toastmaster of the day. But before I introduce that person, I would like to first recognize the presence of our guests tonight. And I see one guest in person, and I don't know, Lisa is a guest. So why don't we start with our guests online? Lisa, if you could unmute yourself and please tell us your name. How did you hear about our club? And what are you looking forward to get by attending our Toastmasters Club?
Sure. So my name's Alicia Dunn. I found out about Toastmasters on Meetup. And what I want to gain from this is the confidence to speak in public. I think the one thing holding me back, especially in corporate America and in my other fields, is just public speaking. So I'm hoping this will just take me over that edge and move me forward.
Excellent.
So that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, welcome to Queen City Toastmasters. I would like also to recognize the presence of another guest whose name I can't read, but if you could please unmute yourself, tell us your name, how did you hear about our club, and what are you looking forward to get out of Toastmasters?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Isaac Ng. The reason why I come to this Toastmasters Club is it is morning over here. Yes, you heard it right. I'm dialing in from Malaysia. I like to start the day on an uplifted mood, and hence I joined the meeting. I heard about you from the meetup, meetup.com. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you. It's great to have you here. As we can see, that's one of the advantages of having the meeting online. We have participants from all over the world. A few months ago, we had also members who actually came through a few weeks in a row from United Kingdom, and it was great seeing the participation of many other members also coming from different parts of the world, not only from United States, because we also have many other participants who are from in certain cases have been from Chicago, from New York, from other places, from other states, and we welcome everyone. So thank you for being here. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce the That is right. I was forgetting the guests that we have in person. So let me pass on the mic to our VP of membership. He loves to do those introductions for the members who are on site. So I'll
Thank you.
Mr. President, we do have one more guest here. Thank you very much for being here. If you could just tell us your name and kind of why you came here, that'd be great for the group.
My name is Sarah, and I'm here because my best friend SJ in Minneapolis told me about this, and she started going there, and I decided to check it out here.
Thank you. And I'll pass it back to our president.
Thank you, Sean. And now I would like to introduce our Toastmaster of the day. He is our VP of Education. He is an excellent speaker and has a lot of interesting topics and information to share with us tonight. Please help me welcome our Toastmaster of the day, Dr. Eric Laxer.
Thank you, Elvis. Wow, we really are Toastmasters International tonight. Welcome to all of our members and all of our guests. So we are going to use tonight's meeting to just do an update on a variety of issues for the club. And so because of that, we didn't really have a true theme. And we have about 7 items that I'm going to introduce and intersperse throughout the meeting. And some of the other members, officers will help me with some of the details. But before we get to that, we must hear from our inspirational speaker, special thought of the night, maybe even joke master. So please join me in welcoming Toastmaster Jenny.
Thank you, fellow Toastmaster Eric. Good evening, guest and fellow Toastmasters. My name is Jenny, and I'm going to give you an inspirational thought and potentially a couple jokes this evening. Today, I wanted to talk about the spirit of Christmas as we're entering the holiday season and Christmas. It really is one of my favorite holidays. I just love the ability that everybody kind of takes the time to reflect on the last year, slow down on their work commitments, and just spend time with family. And one of my favorite things when I go back home to Miami is spending time with my 7-year-old nephew that thinks he's a stand-up comedian and is so adorable. And he gets up around the table and tells us jokes. And so I'm going to share a couple of his jokes today, and hopefully I do them justice. So some of his Christmas jokes. What is a Christmas tree's favorite candy? And anybody can guess. Ornaments. Another one of his favorites is, how do you help someone that lost their Christmas spirit? Nurse them back to Elf. Yeah, too cute. And then for his last favorite joke that always gets everybody cracking up, what did one Christmas tree say to the other? Lighten up, man. So with this, I hope that everybody has a really wonderful holiday season and you get the time to kind of disconnect and spend time with your family and hopefully laugh a little bit. With that, I'll hand it back to Eric.
Thank you, Jenny. That was excellent. If we can have the first slide, I'm going to go over just a couple of items before I introduce other members of the team involved in the meeting tonight. And thank you. Oh, can we have the first slide? Okay, super. So this is our outline. I want to spend just a couple slides talking about pathways, then introduce a new agenda we have coming to our meetings, talk about the speech contest, and then provide some news about some member incentives that the officers committee discussed. Then go over something really exciting that I know everyone's going to be looking forward to, which is the club social we're going to be having in the near future. And also go over the holiday schedule. And then we're going to close with our past president, David Jones, giving us a testimonial. So I just want to take this opportunity to remind everybody, Pathways is an excellent resource. If you haven't signed up for it and you're not using it, please do so. I can help you. And there are also a variety of tutorials on the website that you can use. So please try to keep up with Pathways as best as you can. Second item is we have decided to have a new agenda, and the new agenda is being introduced probably at the beginning of January. It won't look different to anybody who's signing up for roles. The sign up is still there, but an example of some of the changes that we decided to make. Jenny did a great job telling a joke, but we have decided to just change that role to inspirational thought master because that's what most people seem to do, but humor is always welcome. So feel free to use that as an opportunity to tell us a joke as well. And the other big change is that our meetings, usually because when I'm speaking, I speak more than I should, like right now, tend to end a little late. So we are going to be changing the meeting ending time to 7:45 once the new agenda comes out. So more on some of the other items shortly. And for now, what I would like to do is introduce several members who will be assisting me in running the meeting. This is always a team effort. And so please join me in welcoming our first such team member, our grammarian, Mr. David Jones.
Hello, fellow Toastmasters and guests. So tonight I will be the grammarian, and I have two roles. The first one is to pick a word of the day. And the reason we have the word of the day is I'm used to having a stage to walk back and forth on, but we're stuck in this little room. Word of the day is just to try to get you to use a word in your speeches or your improv speaking. And since we had to change over to this room, the word of the day is change. It's a pretty easy word. I think everybody should be able to get it. The other part of my role is to listen for your filler words like so you know, and I'll report on them at the end and also look for some good grammar that you use. I always win the filler words, so don't try to beat me, but I will be keeping track. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, David. And our next participant in tonight's meeting, who will be looking after our timing aspect, is Heather. Please join me in welcoming Toastmaster Heather.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you, fellow Toastmasters, for being here this evening. With the hustle and bustle of the season, time is certainly something we may want more of right now. So time, keeping track of time is important for the flow of the meeting. The general guidelines are for the speeches 5 to 7 minutes. I will illuminate the green light when the speaker has reached 5 minutes, the yellow light when the speaker has reached 6 minutes, and then red when the speaker has reached 7 minutes. There is a 30-second grace period on either side. And for table topics, we suggest 1 to 2 minutes for table topics. The green light will be illuminated at 1 minute. Yellow light at 1 minute and 1.5 minutes, and then 2 minutes. The red light will go on with, again, 30 seconds to wrap up. And the table topics for any guests is an opportunity for people to speak impromptu. So definitely encourage guests and members to participate there. And then the evaluator, they will be evaluating the speeches tonight, will be 2 to 3 minutes. And I will illuminate the green light at 2 minutes, the yellow light at 2.5 minutes, and then red will be 3 minutes. And again, 30-second grace period on either side. So look forward to this meeting, and I'll hand it back to Eric, I believe. Okay.
Thank you. Excellent explanation, Heather, in a very timely fashion. That was perfect. So the highlight of all of our meetings is always the speaker's portion of our meeting. And we are very fortunate enough tonight to have one of our members who will be giving us a speech related to the dynamic leadership pathway. And the theme is Introduction to Toastmasters Mentoring. The title of the speech is Stay on Course. And please join me in welcoming Toastmaster Sean Sohal, who will be delivering the speech.
Thank you, Toastmaster Eric. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, honorable guests. There's no doubt about it. You've heard it before. Life is a bumpy road. We all go through issues in life, go through ups and downs, and it's very bumpy. But there's a lot of paths to get to the destination where we want to go in life. And we have to pay attention to what those paths are. Sometimes instead of taking the right turn, we end up taking a wrong turn. Instead of taking the first exit, we take the second exit. And once we hit the second exit, well, we hit it into some traffic. It slows us down, or even worse, we hit a pothole and it stops us in our tracks immediately. But that's when you have other people in life that help you through this path, through this journey. And they ask you where you want to go, what your final destination is. They can be in the form of a parent, a friend, a brother, sister, teacher, a boss, coach, or a mentor. And so these people, the first thing they do is that they ask you what you want. And then they tell you, well, David, don't take that exit. Eric, don't take that second exit. What you really want is across the country. It's across the other side. You should go there. They go and they reach deep down inside and figure out the experiences that they have had in life and try to relay those experiences to you. Now, in order to be a good speaker, you don't want to go it alone. Also, you also want to have a mentor or a coach to help you along this journey and along this path to stay on course. Because if you don't, you can easily go off that path and get derailed. So for tonight, I'm going to talk about 3 topics that will break down the Toastmasters program. I will first talk about what it is not. And second, I'll go ahead and talk about the expectations of a mentor and what Toastmaster calls a protege, a mentee. And third, I'll draw on my own experiences as both a mentee when I first started years ago and now as a mentor, and then how you can get started. First, what Toastmasters is not. The mentorship program is not a coaching program. We don't have certified licensed mentors. And usually coaching program has that. You have coaches that are certified. They have a specific curriculum that take you through what you want to achieve. So it's very specific and it's very goal oriented. And it's usually a one-way communication as well. That's what coaches provide. Mentors are more like advisors. We're more like your friends. It's more informal. We sit down with you. We talk to you about what your goals are, what your interests are, what fears you have, and how we can ease those fears. Second big thing about the difference of coaches and mentors is that coaches usually accept some form of payment for the service that they provide you with. The Toastmaster mentorship program, there is no payment. It's a free service. We're giving our time and we want you to all succeed. So both coaches and mentors have an incentive, and that, well, one of the main common goals is for everyone, for their mentees to be relaxed and to feel comfortable, and especially with the mentorship program we have here. Now, the role of a mentor and the role of a mentee, in order to qualify as a mentor, you have to be in the club or in the organization for 6 months. And in addition to that, you have to have gone through one pathway from what I remember. Go through one pathway and you have to be able to listen. Active listening is very important because your mentees are going to be very frightened, especially giving their first speech. They're not going to know where to draw their topics from, their introduction. So be a very active listener and ask why. As your mentee talks to you, go deep inside and ask them about, well, how did you feel? Why did you feel? Usually those types of questions will unravel interesting topics that can start their speech and help transition points from introduction to topics. So it's one thing that a mentor can help you with. Yes, so mentors are very good at calming your nerves down. So that's one thing that we can help you with. Now, as a mentee, Toastmasters likes to call them proteges. And for a protege, please be open to new ideas. Sometimes you may have a one-way thinking on how you're going to give a presentation, but your mentor has seen enough speeches. Even though they may not be a great speaker, they know great speakers. So you may want to listen to them and draw from their experiences. Also, one more is be accountable. Your Toastmaster mentor is not going to be accountable for your own success. We can only push and nudge so much, but it's up to you on how much you want to accomplish. So the accountability is on you, not on the mentor. Share your goals, and I think most importantly, share your fears with your mentor. I'm going to talk about that next. Now, I shared my fears with my first mentor that I had, my only mentor, and it really opens up the dialogue for conversations, because that's the hardest thing, is actually getting up here. The content you can do by yourself. You can think of the content. It's really, how do you get over that initial fear? And that's what a mentor has helped you to do, to ease those nerves. And last, be respectful of your mentor's time. This is a free service. We all want you to succeed, but sometimes we can't meet you all the time. So I apologize sometimes with my mentees. If we miss, I always try to reschedule with you, but we'll always find time to get together. Now, my experience, point number 3, my experience as a mentee, actually, I first joined Toastmasters years ago. It was probably, I think 10 years ago, before we even had the online program. I've taken years of breaks because of traveling, night school, what have you. But I remember my first mentor, his name was Luke. Luke was very open. Do you mind if I'm going to close this real fast? So my first mentor, his name was Luke. Luke did a really good job. It was my first time public speaking. I was very shy, it was a very hard time. And he eased my nerves. We first met for coffee. He talked about, what I wanted. And I told him I didn't want to be a great speaker. I have no intentions on becoming a good speaker. I just wanted to have fluency. I wanted to articulate my thoughts. It was just the basics. I was never raised to be a good speaker. I was always quiet. That's all I wanted. And he eased my nerves. And he reassured me that Toastmasters was a club, an organization that was a safe place. And this is a safe place. More importantly, he was a safe person for me. So when I was giving my first speech, I would look at him while I was giving it, and that really eased my pain, my nerves. So that was my experience. And now as a mentor, I have 2 mentees, 2 proteges that I talk to. We talk every other week, either for half an hour or an hour. It's up to them. And we go through the Pathways program. And we also talk about topics. We go through topics. We just also discuss their fears, what they're afraid of. I hear a lot of people that, that they want to be perfect. And it's very hard to be perfect, right? This is a safe place to fail. And this is where you want to fail. So I just try to ease their nerves, and I try to ask them questions. If I'm talking more than they are, I'm doing a wrong job. I need to be listening more and asking questions so they come to the conclusion themselves. So how do you get started with Toastmasters mentors? Well, you can talk to our club officers, the ones who have the pins on. You can talk to me afterwards, our president, Toastmaster Laxer as well. He's VP of Education, and get a hold of us and see who we can connect you with. One thing that I'm going to introduce also as a club maybe is we have more club members than we do have mentors. So maybe having an accountability buddy will also be helpful. I've noticed that once I start to nudge my mentees, I actually start nudging myself. And that's actually been helping me because it pushes me. I'd like to now turn it over to our Toastmaster of the day. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sean. Yes, that was such an important topic. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. And if we can go back to the slides before we move on to the next segment of our meeting, which will be table topics, I'm going to just mention a couple of other items that I reported on earlier. Speech contest. If you're new to Toastmasters, this is a very exciting part of the Toastmasters experience. And Toastmasters has 2 speech contests every year, normally one in the spring and one in the fall. They didn't have one this fall, which is unusual, but we're now preparing for the contest season that will begin in January and end in the spring and May. Why does Toastmasters have a speech competition, you ask? I will tell you. There's 2 reasons. One is it really provides an opportunity to practice not just competitive speaking, but just speaking in general. When you push yourself to the limit is when you really learn, and as Toastmaster Sean said, in a very safe environment. And it also provides an opportunity, as you'll see in a minute, to take on leadership roles, because the contests that we hold at each level, including the club level, requires that people take on different roles in the contest. And it's also fun. So last year was my first year in Toastmasters. It was my first contest, and the whole experience was really a lot of fun. There are 3 categories of speech contests that will be held by Toastmasters this year. One is table topics, the second is speech evaluator, and the third is the international speech contest, which really is just similar to the speeches we give throughout our meetings. To be eligible is really simple. You really just need to be a member in good standing, which means you've paid your dues, and you need to belong to a club that's in good standing. And fortunately, we are. There's no other special requirement for table topics, or I think to be a speech evaluator. Is that correct? Thank you for confirming, David. But to be in this international speech contest, you have to have completed levels 1 and 2 in any pathway. And our speech contest is not until January 30th. The reason we're bringing it up now is to give new members and others who may want to participate in the speech contest an opportunity to get the required number of speeches completed. So if that's something you might be interested in, we'll talk further about it, then now is really the time to start thinking about it. There are several roles which are usually played either by members of our club, or sometimes we have members from other clubs participate with us. An example is the contest master, which is normally the club president, Elvis. He runs the contest. Sergeant at Arms has a variety of jobs during the contest. We need timers, ballot counters. We need a chief judge and judges. And the most important category of people we need is at the bottom, which are our contestants. So this was a plug for our speech contest. Just so you understand, Toastmasters is such a structured organization. We hold our speech contest, which I mentioned will be as January 31st. I think I said the 30th, January 31st. And then in February and March are the area contests. In March and April, the division contest, and the district contest is May 5th to the 7th. Then there's a regional contest. And then if you still want to compete and you get through all of those, you get to participate in the World Championship of Public Speaking, which I believe is in August. Do you know where it is? What? Please. That's what I saw. So, and guess who pays for it if you go to the Bahamas? Not you. Toastmasters pays for your trip if you make. So, there's a lot of incentive here, but, really for new members, the fun part is starting here and then possibly advancing to other levels if that's something that you're interested in. So I'm going to stop there for just a moment because I want to give Elvis, our president, David as well, an opportunity if they want to add to anything we've already mentioned regarding our contest. Do you want anything to add, Elvis?
The opportunity that we all have. And as you mentioned, it's a fun opportunity, but also for learning as a contestant and also as a member who is just a spectator as part of the contest. So it's good for the club to have the participation. So we would like to encourage all of you to participate, both as a contestant, if you feel like this is something that you would like to pursue, but also as an spectator. There's a lot of learning, there's a lot of fun, and there's a good experience that we as a club would benefit from. There are, like in all the meetings, roles to be filled. So we would like to have volunteers for that, timers, judges, and pretty much everything that happens behind the scenes will require member volunteers. So we will come back to you with more information as we go along these months, and we'll be working on the preparation for the contest on January the 31st. Would you like to add anything else? Or?
I was just going to ask Eric a question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so if I'm a brand new member and I want to compete, I have to do level 2, which I believe is 7 speeches. How do we get 7 speeches done between now and the end of February, especially members of Queen City?
So you have a couple of options. One is speak at our meetings as often as you can. I know last year, Andrea was really pumping out speeches because she participated in the contest and did an amazing job with all of her speeches. But the other thing you can do is we have a sister club, and because we have a relationship with our sister club, which is South Park Toastmasters, you can also give speeches to their club, which qualifies. Their meetings are every Monday at noon, either on Zoom or in person. If you want to go, it's at the South Park Library. And what I didn't mention was that the contest is going to be most likely hybrid. So it has been Zoom up till now, but there's discussion that this year they were trying to go back to being in person. I'd be very surprised if it was only in person. I think it's most likely to end up being a hybrid contest. So, and that's what we'll do at our meeting.
You might not know this, but they are also talking about the club and area contests might be on Zoom only, because not all clubs can be hybrid, and therefore they feel that we might have to do our contest on Zoom and not hybrid. So it'll be more convenient for everybody, but that's what they're looking at, is doing Zoom only for contests. Yes.
So I mean, I know we're gonna do it. We can't do it hybrid if they say it's only on Zoom. Do their Zoom here, or do they have to do it?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I don't see why you couldn't do the Zoom anywhere. Yeah. Yeah, but it may not be, the contests in other clubs may not be when we hold our meetings. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? So very exciting topic. Okay, can we please go back to the slides for just a couple more minutes, and then we will do our very exciting table topics. Okay, I would now like to call for a timers report. Thank you, Toastmaster David. Please join me welcoming back Heather with my apologies.
Thank you, Eric. And Sean came in at 8 minutes and 44 seconds, but I think we all agree that his speech was very important, and to create change, accountability, and growth as we venture on this speech path together. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, if we could go back to the slides for just a moment. So another thing the officers discussed were incentives for members. And we have a budget, and we have access to funds that we think could be enjoyed by other members of the club. So we have decided that we will be offering Queen City Toastmaster t-shirts. That's amazing. If you complete your icebreaker speech, or when you complete your icebreaker speech and perform all meeting roles at least one time. And it's really an opportunity to get everybody as involved in the meetings as we can. And then we will also be giving personalized Toastmasters name badges, which are very nice. And I don't know if we have any here we could show people, but they're available to be ordered at Toastmasters, and the club will be giving them to any member who has completed level 1 in any pathway, including retroactively if members have already completed those pathways. So there are some very nice gifts in everyone's future. And then the other thing we discussed was possibly having an incentive if you bring new members into the club, because it's always nice when other members join, and we haven't made a final decision about that. Any questions about those two updates? Okay, so now for the really other exciting part of the meeting, we are going to have our table topic section. Please join me in welcoming Toastmaster Melissa, who will lead table topics.
Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay, good. All right, good evening, Toastmasters and honorable guests. Tonight, I will be our table topics master. And what this is it really is meant to give everyone a chance to practice their impromptu speaking. For me, this part is frightening. It's something that I think a lot of people are kind of nervous about, especially the first couple of times, because you just don't know what to expect. But it's also really good practice because this is what happens in meetings, in business, in life. So I think the more that we practice it, the better we will become. So in terms of timing, our timing for table topics tonight, so it's at 1 minute, you'll get the green light, 1 minute and 30, yellow light, and at 2 minutes, red light. As far as our theme tonight, there was no theme. So I was kind of left to choose what I would like. And I thought about doing the holidays, but I figured probably something next week, or maybe even last week I wasn't here, but I'm sure holidays will be coming up. So I did not select holidays as my theme, but instead I chose travel. And travel is a big topic right now for everybody, with traveling to see family for holidays and all of that. But personally, my husband and I just traveled to London last week for a little baby moon. Big change coming to our family in a couple of months. So we're very excited. Thank you. Very excited for that. And so we figured we'd take one last big adventure across the pond over to London, and it was wonderful. So tonight, that will be our theme, is travel. Who would like to volunteer first or be voluntold? All right, come on up. Okay. Let's see here. We'll start off with an easy one here. What was your most memorable vacation or trip, and why?
Wow, I wasn't expecting that question. Okay. Most memorable. Okay. My most memorable vacation would be the last vacation I took with my grandfather. We were having family reunion, and it's every July. And well, I'm sorry, every August. And this particular year, it was in Los Angeles, and we went to Disneyland. Now, I was a precocious kid, just as I'm a precocious adult. And so my wonderful grandfather, who I was the apple of his eye, because I was his only grandchild that he spent that much time with, he took me around the park. Well, he let me go to the bathroom. So I don't know if you've been to amusement parks, it's like usually one door in and one door out. So I came out and he was gone. I found my way back to the bus because I was that kid that remembered everything. And I knew we needed to be back at the bus at a certain time. And I had a watch on, and it was about to be that certain time. And I went back to the bus. My grandfather came back to the bus crying because he thought he lost his grandchild. This is before cell phones. This is in 1979, I want to say. So he's like frantic. And he gets to the bus, and my grandmother's like, "What's wrong with you, William? What's wrong with you?" And he's like, "Where's my baby? Where's the little baby?" Because my mom was big baby, I was little baby. "Where's my little baby? I don't know. I lost her. I looked everywhere. I don't know." And I was like, "Grandpa." And he was like, "Oh, there you are." So this has happened to me on more than one occasion because I was just that kid. I would get back to where I was supposed to be. But that is my most memorable vacation because that next year he was gone. And I will forever remember that time just spent with my grandfather walking around Disneyland, feeling like his little princess. Thank you for your question.
Thank you for that. I'm sure that was a frightening experience for everyone involved, but I am glad, as you mentioned, that travel really is great for making those memories, especially with the people that you love. So thank you for sharing. Who would like to come up next? All right. Okay. When you travel, do you prefer to stay in Airbnbs, rental houses, or hotels, and why?
Well, thank you very much for the question. So when we travel, our preference, my wife and I, we have mostly stayed at Airbnbs. We've gotten away from the hotels and motels just for the freedom that the Airbnbs offer of having an entire house to yourself. And I know there are some horror stories out there at Airbnbs, and so far we have been miraculously lucky to have enjoyed many of the Airbnbs that we've stayed at. Great hosts, great accommodations, nothing too much wrong with the facilities, and we're able to greatly enjoy our vacation. So now every time we are planning, our go-to is Vrbo, Airbnb, HomeAway, I think is another one. And just looking at, of course, the most important part of any Airbnb is the bathtub. We have literally changed our destination based on the bathtub in the house. So that has become the catch for us. That's the first picture I go to. If that doesn't measure up, on to the next. And I think the hotels in some locations are great. They have a lot of amenities. They have breakfast ready for you. And when you go to the beach, that's where we've stayed at smaller hotels that, you know, you're not going to be in the room much. You're just there to drop your stuff, lay your head at night, and go out and have fun. But for some of the destinations we've gone to where we know this is just to get away from day-to-day stress and just go hang out, find a nice cabin in the woods, get our meal squared away on the way up there, and just sit back and relax and enjoy the weekend. So I would have to say for us, Airbnb is the way to go, but all depends on your destination. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing. I definitely agree that there are pros and cons to each. Personally, we have done both and have definitely gone more into the Airbnb rental houses when there's groups involved, just because everyone can have their own space. You have a kitchen for gatherings. I've really enjoyed that. And then hotels internationally, I'm still a little unsure about Airbnbs when you go across the ocean, but for most cases, Airbnbs across the country have been wonderful. So thank you. All right, do we have time for one more? One more, okay. Anyone online?
I think I will take the last one.
All right, sounds good. Let's see. Okay, has there ever been a movie or a show that has inspired a trip that you have taken or want to take?
Hey, thank you, Table Topic Master. I think the question has fallen on a wrong person because you are speaking to a person, or I'm a person who doesn't watch movie. The last movie I watched was 3.5 years ago, on a trip from Ecuador back to Malaysia. That was a 30-hour journey, and I watched a lot of movies, trying to catch up those movies that I have missed. Having said that, there was a movie that inspired me to take up an activity. That was Shall We Dance? I can't remember. Oh yes, it was actually starred by Richard Gere. I still could remember the image in which Richard Gere was taking the train on the Chicago commuter trains. And then he saw this dance studio. After a few rounds, a few nights watching at the dance studio, he decided to take the plunge and went for the dancing. As I was mesmerized by his gracious move, I decided to take a dancing class in Malaysia as well. I gave myself 3 months just to try it out, but it ended up for 3 years. During these 3 years, I've actually taken the certification. I know it's only a bronze certification of dancing for both Latin as well as ballroom. Yes, movies sometimes can inspire you and me for greater goods, for something that you haven't explored. It might just rekindle your interest or your passion in a certain areas. So maybe I should start watching movie once more. Thank you so much, and back to you, Table Topic Master.
Wonderful.
Wow.
That was great. Thank you so much for that. Yes, I That question came to me because there was a lot of different movies and scenes and things all across England that were filmed where we were walking. So for example, Bridgerton, we stayed in the hotel where they were, Downton Abbey, Harry Potter. So there was a lot of movie influences throughout our trip, which was wonderful. All right, back to you. Thank you.
It's an epidemic. I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Melissa. We'd now like to call upon Heather to give us a timer's report. Double round of applause for Heather, please.
Well, everyone qualified. So Andrea came in at 2 minutes and 13 seconds, Nick at exactly 2 minutes, and then Somya at 1 minute and 55 seconds. So thank you.
Thank you very much for everyone who participated. Can we go back to the slides? There are just two small items that I want to mention before we move on to the evaluation portion of our meeting. So we are going to be having a club social. It will be Tuesday, February 21st, 2023, in place of one of our meetings, but this is after our speech contest, and the location will be determined, and we are welcoming suggestions. So if anyone has a place they would like us to go to, please feel free to let us know. You could let our president know, Elvis. And I just wanted to give a holiday schedule update. We're going to be having our normal meeting December 20th, and then we're just going to do a Zoom only meeting December 27th. So please sign up for roles for that meeting, even though we won't be meeting in person. And then January 3rd, right after New Year's, we're going to go back to our normal hybrid meeting. With that, I would like to now initiate the evaluation portion of our meeting, and beginning with our general evaluator who is online. Please join me in welcoming Toastmaster Sonia, who will lead the evaluation portion.
Hello, family, and greetings from Maryland. I'm with the South Park, your sister club, and it's my pleasure to serve as your general evaluator today. What does the general evaluator do? We usher in the evaluation portion of the meeting, and we give our assessment at the end. So I would like to call up, and hopefully this is still the same, Jamie Richardson, who will evaluate our speech today. Jamie.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. I will be providing the feedback for Toastmaster Sean's speech. I want to start with, I've seen Sean grow as a speaker since he came and joined Queen City Toastmasters. I didn't know that you'd started, 10 years ago? So I'm glad you got back into it and took yourself out of that most recent hiatus. What I've noticed about all of our speakers, we all have some unique style or unique presentation comfort zone. And whenever I get your speeches, Sean, I think about sales in the best possible way. I think you are a master at pitching a particular idea and getting people excited about what it is you're talking about. And that's different, I think, than my style. My style is a little bit more like facts, and I want to prove things to people and get you all to agree with me. But I do like that about your general style, about how you deliver your speeches. I'm going to give my feedback on 3 dimensions: content, structure, and delivery, as I normally do. We'll start with content. Some of the things I thought you did really well. I thought the theme overall, in terms of how you wove together the idea of mentorship and mentees, but giving it that road, that journey sort of metaphor, worked pretty well. I would have liked to seen it maybe go all the way through the speech as opposed to just sort of an intro to get people sucked in and caught in. The personal experiences that you brought into it, I thought was really effective as well. Right? I think that's true of all of our speeches. Anytime we can personalize things and give anecdotes of how we've grown as individuals, that's a particularly effective way to get your message to come across. I thought you had some good language in here in terms of facing your fears, as well as the anecdote of your mentor being a friendly face in the audience. I thought was a good, memorable image. One thing I'd like to see here is some examples of growth that you saw in your mentees. So what was the transformation that you've seen in some of them based on some of the interactions you've had, some of the things that they wanted to stress or test in their own personal speeches? Moving to structure. Overall, I thought it was great. The 3 items is a fantastic way to structure things. I thought you hit all of them in an effective way. The one thing is just crisper transitions there. So making sure that we as an audience know that we're now changing the topic that we're going to talk about. Change. I wasn't paying attention. But it could have been crisper between 1, 2, and 3. I thought eventually you got back to it, but yeah, maybe that's just coming with practice a little bit on the particular speech. Delivery, great use of gestures. You're, out of all of our speakers, I think you're one of our strongest in terms of how you use gestures. You started off with right turn and wrong turn, and it was, it's just, you bring your whole body to your speeches, and I think that's really effective. Great tone of voice and inflection throughout. You smiled a lot. One thing I also want to highlight about you as a speaker that I've seen in your growth since, call it 6 months ago, you've always been confident, right? But now I think you bring a little bit more casualness to it. And maybe more than anything else, you're giving yourself more latitude, which I think is fantastic, because it means you're more comfortable. You're not trying to like force your way through that particular speech. You're not kind of, in your head checking each and everything. Did I nail that particular, transition? And instead you're like, you smile a little bit and you're a little more self-deprecating, which I think actually makes you a more effective speaker as well. That's the feedback. I will now turn it back to our general evaluator on Zoom.
Thank you so much, Jamie. Now I'll ask for a timers report.
Thank you, Jamie, for such a thorough evaluation. You always are very thorough and detailed. It's 3 minutes and 24 seconds. So thank you for also respecting time.
Fantastic. I see Dr. Laxer at the podium. Dr. Laxer, did you want to show your PowerPoints, or you were just putting the mic back?
Just putting the mic back.
Fantastic. Now I will ask for our grammarian to tell us how well we did with using the word change, as well as our eye counter report.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Obviously, Jamie used the word change. I believe I heard him say it. I think I heard Heather say it. Our General Evaluator just said it. And if anybody else said it, thank you for saying it. The key words I heard tonight were so. We all use them. I use them. Just something to be aware of when we're saying so. We shouldn't be saying so. We should pause and think of something else to say. And the two words I heard today were safe place and safe environment. And that's what Toastmasters is. So those are good words. And back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for our functionaries. Now I will give my assessment of the meeting and our evaluator. Jamie, you did something that I think is very powerful in Toastmasters. You noticed the arc of someone's journey. In Toastmasters, we come for the partnership. And our speaker today was seen by you. You sowed awesome things into him, but you also said, I see where you have grown. I also loved how you broke up your evaluation in segments. You talked about the content, the structure, and the delivery. When you talked about content, you gave him concrete examples of what he did that was awesome. But you also gave a growth point. An evaluation should never be a fluff piece. You gave a growth point. And I love that you talked about structure. How many of us, raise your hand if you go into pathways and you just pull the evaluation? You can tell that Jamie was intentional about actually, what did the path project actually talk about? Our paths are always talking about how we structure our speeches. I love that you highlighted that. And then you talked about the delivery. And you let us know, Toastmasters isn't about the words that we put on a piece of paper or on a screen. It's how we show up in a meeting. And you highlighted that. Spot on evaluation. I loved it. Now I want to talk about your meeting. I love coming to this meeting. Not only do you demonstrate what Toastmasters wants us to do, go back into the rooms and start fellowshipping. You did it hybrid, and you did it before a whole lot of other people were doing it, and you did it well. And you were able to flex on a dime. I came in, I was like, where are they at now? Did I miss the memo? But it was flawless. I love that. And I also love how you identify your guests and you're intentional with interviewing them. I tell people all the time as an SAA, people come to your meetings and have an impact and an impression of your meeting, how they feel when they enter and when they leave. And you guys always take the time to engage with our visitors. And you also engage them by asking them to participate in a meeting. And you're not shy to have that pregnant pause. Is anybody online want to do table topics? And you wait. I love that. Fantastic job. Again, if I could say anything, us Zoom people want to network as well, but I see that you're empowering that in your upcoming sessions. But what else did you do that's fantastic? You go back to basics. We have a lot of people who get lazy in a Toastmasters meeting. You went, what is pathways? What are we doing as a club? Because we're going to reset to a new year because there's new opportunities. Why do we do speeches? What's happening? You do that. Some people say, oh, just go to the district website. You'll figure it out. No. You want your members engaged and you're intentional. If I could say anything about your club, you are intentional about the Toastmasters Club mission. So thank you for allowing me to share. And thank you for letting me be a part of your sister club. Yay. Back to our Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Sonia. Excellent and entertaining. Double E's. Very well done. Thank you. So I just want to end off the themeless theme of the meeting by asking our past president, David, to speak for a moment to members on leadership opportunities within the district level at Toastmasters. So David, would you please come up and again, join me in welcoming him to the podium lectern.
And I am past president, but thanks for saying past president. I just want to tell my story. How many of you are working remote now from the house? Everybody? Well, I've been doing it for 25 years. And what I learned was in 25 years, out of sight, out of mind. I've always worked for large insurance companies with thousands of employees. Nobody knew who I was. No matter how great I was, I couldn't get a promotion because I never had experience as a manager or as a leader at the company because I didn't have the opportunity of being remote. That's where Queen City came in for me, at least Toastmasters, where it's not just about public speaking. The motto of Toastmasters is where leaders are made. And when I started as an officer, I started learning about the club and I started learning how a club operates. And then I became president. Then I became area director, and area director is somebody who's over about 3 clubs. And now I'm division director over 23 clubs. And it's just leadership skills that I keep learning and growing. And it's something my company recognizes. And I recently got my 2nd promotion a couple months ago because of Toastmasters, because I make sure my bosses know that I'm involved in Toastmasters and everything else I'm involved in. And it's just helped me improve myself and my career. So don't look at it as just public speaking. So when the opportunity for leadership comes up, you should become an officer. And the other reason you want to do that is the DTM, Distinguished Toastmaster. And if you work for a large company, they know what that means. It means that you're able to speak in public, you're able to teach classes, you're able to just do anything verbally that most people are scared to do. And part of being a DTM is being a club officer, and then an area, you have to go through the whole path of leadership in the districts. That's another reason to do it. And also volunteer and help your fellow Toastmasters. Eric is the district judge for the contest coming up, and he's going to need lots of help for judging and timing, like he said, but not just for our club, but all around. So it's a good way for you to get involved. You don't have to have experience. Well, he'll train you, not me, on how to be a judge, and you can go area contests and just meet more people and get outside of this club. And that's what I want to share with you is get into leadership at Toastmasters.
Thank you, David. I'd now like to call back our president, who is the presiding officer for this evening, to bring the meeting to a close. Please join me in welcoming Elvis.
Thank you, Eric. And please, another round of applause to our Toastmaster of the day. Excellent job. A lot of information tonight. As I mentioned at the beginning of our meeting, it was going to be an interesting meeting, a little bit different, but in terms of content, because the structure is always the same. We're very structured. And speaking of which, I would like to go with our feedback from our members, which is always something that we love to do. So we have a guest who participated actively in our in our meeting. I would like to go back to you again. Please let us know your final comments about the meeting as a whole.
Well, it is lovely. The meeting went on really well. I know that how much could go wrong in a hybrid meeting, but you guys just nailed it. It is working like a clock. I also get a lot of information from the first speaker about the coaching and mentorship, something which I have done before, but there's so much to pick up from them. And thank you for allowing me to participate as well. Thank you so much, Queen's Club.
It was great having you. And I would like to also call upon Lisa again, please, if you can unmute yourself and let us know your final comments about the meeting as a whole.
So I'm a pretty organized person, and watching the meeting, I was very impressed with how organized everything is. It's a lot of detail, a lot of things to learn for a new person, but overall, it does feel comfortable. It makes you feel at ease knowing going forward, there's a strategy in place. I see the growth from some of the people in the audience that I guess had done this for years, and it kind of makes me feel good to know that this is a growing session. It takes time to get there. So overall, when I look at your process, I'm pretty impressed. I'm eager to learn. I'm eager to be a part of it going forward. I think you guys did just a wonderful job, honestly. It was really, really, really good to watch.
Thank you. It was great having you here. And I would like to pass on the mic to our guest here. Please let us know your comments about the meeting, your experience tonight.
I love the structure. I love how it is concise. It definitely teaches conciseness with your structure and adherence to timing. And someday I'll remember what the green, yellow, and reds mean. That someday will be in the future.
Well, it was great having everybody here. I would like to finish with final thoughts around engagement. As you noticed, well, the members already know, but for the guests, we all participate here. The reason why we come here is to become better at public speaking and also become better leaders. So as we participate, we get the chance to practice. So the whole thing about coming here is to practice. We can do it by volunteering for roles, a timer, table topics master. We could be the Toastmaster of the day. We could be an evaluator. We could be any of the roles. And also, if we have not signed for a role, then we can also volunteer for table topics. So I continue encouraging all of our members, guests, you are welcome to come back again, but also be ready to participate, because that's the best way to move forward, to get one step forward towards becoming more comfortable with speaking. And with that said, please remember our next meetings on the 20th, on the 27th is going to be only virtual, and then we're going to come back to normal meetings on January the 3rd. We also have the contest on January 31st, and there's a social, yay, on February. So we'll get back to that with more details. And like Eric said, you are please invited to offer suggestions. All suggestions are welcome, and we would love to have you all in a setting or in a meeting outside of our club. Not that we don't love our club, but just to have it more social, more open, and just continue strengthening our relationships. So with that said, please, if there's any other announcements, I would like to call this meeting to a close. Thank you very much for coming, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody. Stay blessed and safe.